So in this video, let's think about our type of SAT math problem. And the question is, there is a quadratic function y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c right over here, and it is graphed below. And our ultimate goal in this question is solve for 4a plus b plus c. And before we solve for this question, let's think about the solutions of these questions. At first, we need to think about the functions of each unknown variable, which are going to be a, b, and c. Secondly, we need to think about using the given coordinates, which are shown right over here with graphs to find each values. Let's write our function down. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And in order to solve for this question, we need to think about solving for a, b, as well as c. And let's think about at first the functions of these questions. And for the a, which is our leading coefficient of this function, for the a doesn't really affect when it comes to solving for this question. The only thing it affects is when the a is greater than 0, which means when the a is positive value, the graph will go upward. And secondly, when the a value is less than 0, the graph will go downward. And this is the thing that a value affects. It affects the function, the type of the function, where it goes upward or downward. And if you think about it, the graph is go downward, which means they didn't really mention about the a value, but our a value will going to be negative according to our function property. But we don't know exact value of it. Secondly, we need to think about what it is to be b. But for the b, it doesn't really have effect of graphing the functions. It is just there according to whether the functions go wider or it is shorter. And for the c is a value when the c value exists and the x value is equal to 0. So when the x value is equal to 0, it will going to be a y value. So if you write that down, for the c value, is a case when the x value is equal to 0 and the y value exists. But in this case, we don't know the exact value of y, and then this means it will going to be a y-intercept. But now we know it because for here it is passing 3 points, and they gave us that the value of this point is 8, which means we don't really care about the x value. It is on the y-intercept, which means the y value exists and the y value is equal to 8. So if you convert this to our function, it will going to be 0, 8, which the x value is equal to 0 and the y value is equal to 8. So our c value will turn into 8. So if you kind of write this down again, y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus 8. Right now our a value is equal to negative. Let's think about, if you think about in terms of this function, we know that this function passes through some points. And for the first point, it will going to be the y-intercept, which will going to be the value of c. And when the x value exists, the y value is equal to c, which will going to be 8. And second thing that we know is when the y value is equal to 5, the x value will turn into 3. And lastly, we figure out that the value right over here is 4. But if you think about this term, it is on the x-axis, which means when the x value exists, which will going to be 4 in this case, the y value is equal to 0. So we can figure out that this function right over here passes through these 3 points. It intersects with these 3 points. Two equations from these intersecting points that we already know that c value is equal to 8. And for the x value here is equal to 3 and the y value is equal to 5. Which means when you input the value of 3 into our original function, they should give us the output of their function, which will going to be 5. So if you write it, it will going to be x squared, but x value is 3, which means 3 squared, and it will going to be 5, which is our output value, is equal to 9a. And then for x value is just 3, which is 3b. And then we still have positive 8. And for the another equation, we have when the x value is equal to 4, the y value is equal to 0. We can actually input the value of 4 into our every single x terms, and the y value should equal to 0, which will go to be 0 is equal to 4 squared, which is 16, and we have a, plus, if we input the value of 4 into the x value, it will going to be 4 times b, which is just 4b. And then we have our constant left, which will going to be positive 8. Systems of equations to find each value. And at first, we need to, for this step of these systems of equation, we need to make the one term equal so that we cancel it out. We have one variable left. So at first, let's choose our b terms because it is not that big term even though we multiply. And for the least common multiple, between 3 and the 4 will going to be 12. So in order to make 3 into 12, all you have to do is multiply these 4. But we need to remember that if you multiply just a b term, you're going to affect our function into equal sign. So we need to multiply 4 to the every single side. From here, we need to multiply 3 to get 12, which means we need to multiply 3. So if you do it, the first term, 5 times 4 is equal to 20, is equal to 9 times 4 is 36a, plus 3b plus times 4 is positive 12b, positive 8 times 4 is positive 32. For the second one, even though we multiply anything to 0, we will just get 0 is equal to 16a times 3, 16a times 3 will gonna be equal to 48a, plus the second one will going to be 12b, and the third one will going to be positive 24. And now we kind of got the point why we made this into a systems of equation. 12b and deposit 12b, if you subtract it, it will gonna cancel out. And this was the reason why we made it into a system of equations so that we get rid of one variable for more convenience of the calculation. And for the final step, we have 30 minus positive 24 will going to be positive 8. And then we have 36a minus 48a will going to be negative 12a, and then that will be equal to 20 minus 0 will just going to be 20. But we need to isolate this a term in order to find the exact value of it with subtracting a to the both sides. If it's subtracted, we're gonna get 8 minus e, we're gonna cancel our 0. We get negative 12a is equal to 12. And right over here, all you have to do is we need to divide this into 12. It's basically let's divide into negative 12, so we get rid of it and isolate the value of a. So we have 12 divided by negative 12. The reason why we divided into negative 12 is because since we divided negative 12 here, we need to keep this into equal sign to make a equation. And then we were gonna get the a because negative 12 divided by negative 12 will turn into 1. 12 divided by negative 2 will going to be is equal to negative 1. So we finally found the value of a, which will going to be negative 1. But our ultimate goal is finding 4a plus b plus c. And right now, all you have to do is find the value of b. But since we needed to the one variable, we only left with one variable, which is we're going to be b. And we don't have to solve for it using system equation again, because if we knew the value of any variables, we can just input the value to our original equation, and one variable we're going to isolate in the one side, we can solve for it. At first, let's choose the last one, which is easy to calculate because the left side is equal to 0. So if you write it down, it will going to be 0 is equal to 16a plus 4b plus 8. And all we have to do is we know the value of a, which is -1, so we can input the value of -1 to our a value. And it will going to be 0 is equal to -16 plus 4b plus 8. And the only thing that we changed is we inputted the value of -1 to our a value, so we can kind of remove the value of the variables. And now we need to solve for the value b, which means we need to kind of isolate this term. And at first we can subtract 8 and then add 16. But since we added 16 and subtracted 8, we also need to do the same kind of step to the left side to keep the equal. And then 16 minus 8 will turn into positive 8, which means we can just add 8 into the left side. We get negative, so 4b. And for finding the value of b, all you have to do is divide 4 to the both sides. And then we were going to get 4 divided by 4 will turn to 1, we still get b value, and that is equal to 8 divided by 4 will turn into 2. So we figure out the value of 2, but we are trying to find the value of 4a plus b plus c. And if you kind of write our ultimate goal down, 4a plus b plus c. But we know that value of a will going to be -1, value of b will going to be a positive 2, value of c will going to be a positive 8. So all you have to do is we can input the value of a value and then multiply by 4 to make a perfect form. So for the 4a, we can just input the value of a, which will turn to -1, and then for the b is equal to 2, we can add 2, and for a c, its value will going to be a, so we can add a. A plus 2 will going to be 10, minus 1 will going to turn into positive 9. And our goal and our answer for this question will going to be a positive 9. And for this question, we've kind of figured it out through our systems of equations. The reason was because there were two unknown variables. If there's only one unknown variable, we can just input the values to our functions to find its value. But if there's two unknown variables, which means it's hard to kind of solve it. And the way to find the value when it comes to variables is using systems of equation. And in this case, systems of equations was really useful when it comes to two variables. At first, what we did is we kind of figured out the value of the 8, which was going to be our c value, and we need to remember the c value is always the value when the x value equals to 0 and the y value exists, and our y value in this case will going to be 8. So we can see that these steps were elimination for the variables. And then we find out the value of a, b, and c, which are our variables. And then if we add in, we got our total answer, which will going to be a positive 9.